Today's featured brand new design is Washington's District of Criminals. There's more evil that comes out of the eastern part of America than you could possibly ever shake a stick at. Washington is literally crawling with parasitic, psychopathic puppet politicians. And it is indeed the District of Criminals. While supplies last, take 20% off of everything in the store with your code BLACKFRY20. Your link is in the description and in the pinned comment. So I'm watching the Young Turks today, right? Because I subject myself to brain-numbing nonsense so you don't have to. And I happened upon this video entitled, Trump Supporter Warns of Coming Civil War. And here's how the video begins.
Emma Vigeland attended the Trump rally in Florida, and during the rally, an all too common theme came up. Supporters who are threatening violence if anything happens to Donald Trump. Take a look.
Now, before we take a look at what this guy says, try your hardest to see if there's anything in this interview that shows anybody, quote, threatening violence if anything happens to Donald Trump.
We will not let somebody take down our Constitution. I swore an oath back in 1973 to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And if it comes to domestic, that's what I do. If the UN comes in here, there are foreign invaders in our country, and I will do what I got to do to stand up for them.
And you called yourself a militia, does that mean with guns?
If that's what it takes. The militia is, look at the farmers back in the day. They didn't have guns. They used pitchforks and whatever they had available to them. Today, everybody's got guns. What's going to happen is, if the thing starts here and we have a civil war, people are going to have to pick what side they're on. Me, I want our country to stay the way it is. I want it to be free. I want my children to grow up in a free country. I want them to be able to think for themselves and not be force-fed the information they're put in schools. I don't want them on their knees waving Allah. I mean, we're America. This is what we got to fight for. And if that's what it comes down to.
At no time does this guy say anything close to what Anna said we're about to hear. Here's what she said exactly.
Supporters who are threatening violence if anything happens to Donald Trump. Take a look.
Did the guy threaten violence if anything happens to Donald Trump? No. He did speak about not letting anybody take down the Constitution. He talked about defending this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. He talked about doing what he has to do to protect this country against UN foreign invaders. He spoke about the fact that people are going to have to pick a side if there's a civil war. He said he wants his country to be free and he wants his kids to grow up in a free country. And he also wants them to be able to think for themselves and not be force-fed information. And he sure as hell doesn't want them on their knees being forced to worship Allah. Basically, he says he's going to fight for America. Now, call me crazy, but in my estimation, this seems to be the kind of guy who would rather die on his feet than live on his knees. And guys, I realize that he's deceived by the left versus right dog and pony show because he's in the tank for Trump. But the point is, Anna and the Young Turks lied about what this guy actually said. He didn't threaten the initiation of any violence if something happens to Trump. He did say, however, that he would do what he had to protect what's left of our freedoms. You know why? Because that's what normal people do who care about their freedoms and their families. They protect them. They don't lay down like a bunch of pansies. And speaking of pansies, here's more of the Young Turks.
So he is not an isolated case. We've done stories featuring right-wing members of the media, including people like Ben Shapiro, for instance, pushing this notion that if you try to take our guns away, we're going to meet law enforcement at the door with our guns. There are threats of civil war. I mean, all this nonsense coming from the right.
Not a fan of Ben Shapiro. As a matter of fact, the guy's doing a lot to further enslave Americans with his Zionist propaganda. But to say you're going to stand up for your freedoms is not nonsense. It's beyond me how these people can be so conscience-seared.
And there are members, like militia people, who are training in like the forest. That you were talking about that off camera, Ida. And it's true, like they really think, no, if anything happens to Trump, if he actually does get impeached and removed, we're gonna fight back.
Let's say people are saying that. It would be nonsense to start a war just because a banker puppet got replaced with another banker puppet. I'm not hearing anybody say they're going to take up arms if Trump gets removed.
Which is terrifying, but what's also terrifying is if he actually does lose his re-election, then they're gonna think that the system's rigged. I mean, he primes them with that nonsense and that misinformation.
The system is rigged, Anna, and the Young Turks and virtually all of lamestream media have been crying for 3 years about how the system is rigged, and now she's gonna sit there and call what she's been spewing for years nonsense and misinformation. I love watching these people hang themselves with their own rope of hypocrisy. Now feast your ears on this little gem.
And who knows if they actually will carry out this violence, but it is terrifying because some of them are unhinged.
But you know what's funny is like the argument with people with the guns when they're like, you can't take my guns, and they'll have like 3 guns in the house, the military and the law enforcement. You honestly think you're gonna win the fight? Did you see in Dallas when they had that robot thing come out and we were like, what the heck is that? Do you honestly think that your little guns that you have at home with your crew can take out a military that is trained to fight countries?
You know what she just unwittingly made the argument for? Shall not be infringed. Whatever the police and military have, the people should have. This is the kind of person who would have told those fed up colonists, you think you're going to take your little muskets and fight against the highly trained British army and win? To which they would say, hold my beer, biatch. We'll be right back. If we went the way of the Young Turks strategy, King George would have ensured this stayed a slave colony. There's more to this Young Turks video, but I just so happen to run out of barf bags. Like and share this video with everybody you know on social media, and leave your thoughts about this for the world and the Google Thought Police in the comments section below, and I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.